Well, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're at. Still morning time for me. Hopefully, you're all doing well. And gonna turn that off so we don't get annoyed by it all morning long. All right, that is done. Good afternoon, Kevin. Get the video going, see if my background is working. Oh, it is. Some of y'all saw that last night. It was the maiden voyage. That's the first time I've ever used the background, so it's still weird for me to see it. I mean, I've been in lots of meetings like this where other people are using them, and it's interesting. So, um, but yeah. Anyway, good morning, Andrew. Hello, Helen. How is the day treating you so far? Hopefully, it's good. It's a little wild and crazy. We were tanking here a little bit ago, and then in the last 15, 20, 30 minutes, we've bounced up pretty solid, but still coffee time for me. But which I would prefer it keep tanking, but especially Apple. So, but I just took a position on that this morning just for a quick little day trade, seeing if it would pan out. It's not going well right now, so but it won't take much for it to change and flip over. So we'll see. But let's get this out of the way before I get too far. I'm not a registered broker deal investment advisor. I'm not going to give you any recommendations or advice. Everything we do here is purely for educational purposes. If I do happen to mention a trade, just assume it is a paper trade or practice trade. For regulatory reasons, we do not discuss funded trading here. Really? Where's Brenda? I thought this one had all the attention she wanted this morning already. She was here about 20 minutes ago begging for it, but hopefully she'll just sit down and leave me alone. But here are the upcoming events. Super Summit 19th, which is today. It's going on right now. So if you have access to it, then jump in there. If you after this, of course. Actually, anytime you want is fine. Um, and then Inner Circle is 22nd to 29th. Mastermind Group is the 23rd and 30th. Market Movers the 25th. Free online workshops, Power Hour every Monday at noon. And then this one, Trading Coaches Playbook every Friday at noon. The Spread Spectrum. I think that's Brandon, is it not? I'm assuming it is. I know he's a big spread guy. Um, September 22nd, 24th, and October 1st and 2nd. So then Power Option plays Monday and Thursday. Cover Call Explore with Trip on Thursday. E-Money Think Tank Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Brandon. So that is it. This is yeah, this is my last one until 2 weeks. I'm leaving next Tuesday. My daughter's getting married a week from tomorrow, so kind of excited, kind of nervous, not sure, mixed feelings on it. It's like I don't feel old enough to have a child getting married, but she is 26, so that makes sense. And he's a good guy, so excuse me. There's all the social media platforms. Just a second, let me clear that. Hopefully that's it. But if you haven't met me, or if we're not familiar, I think most of the names are familiar. I see them. Patterns and Flash, Weekly Whispers, and Small Accounts Big Return. We should actually add Trade Watch Alerts to that, even though it was originally Amelia's, but she wanted to retire and stop working as much. So I know she's still doing a little bit with us, but she handed that off to me a year and a half ago. So I don't know how many of you are in that or not, if you're getting it or not, but next week we'll not have any. So as a well, Tuesday I will be. Monday and Tuesday I will be. Then I leave Tuesday afternoon. So, but let's get to the topic of the day. It's a fun one. Thank you, Andrew. Um, any of you ever talk to yourself? Oh, there you are, Brenda. You're late. You missed it. She was just here. um, I don't mean necessarily talking to yourself out loud, but we all talk to ourselves, whether it's physical or not. I actually do talk to myself. Um, and there you go, Brenda. There's the other one. Why? I've been sitting here for 4 hours, and now you want to bug me? Um, we all have an inner dialogue, right? We're all talking to ourselves all the time. It's always going, whether you're like I said, whether you're doing it physically or not. So the question is, how do you take that the conversation in your head, especially the negative stuff, and turn it into your favor, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today, is not only what it is and how it's there, but I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with it because you all have brains and you think. But we're always talking to ourselves, right? But that, and especially in trading, because trading is difficult, right? It's not easy. It's one of those things that you will talk to yourself, you will criticize yourself more than anybody else will. I'm like that. I mean, I'm highly self-critical. Most people are, I think. We're much more gracious towards others than we are to ourselves. But the key is, how do you overcome that? And how do you get to a place so that it doesn't affect your trading negatively? Because that's the goal, right? We're obviously here wanting to figure out how to get to whatever your destination is, wherever you want to get to. Uh, there's hurdles in the way, no doubt. Which it's ultimately, a lot of it really is set up and shaped by your subconscious beliefs in how you see not only yourself, but how you see the world, how you see things. And especially, we're here talking about money, right? How do you see money? What is your perspective on money? Because you hear so many people talk about, oh, money is evil. And that is a misquote. I hate using the word misinformation or disinformation because it's so thrown around casually today. It's the love of money that is evil. Money is not evil. Money itself is an inanimate object. It does nothing. But a lot of people have that belief that money is evil. And if you have lots of money, then you're a bad person, which is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Because money has nothing to do with who you are as a person. Like I said, it's an inanimate object that has nothing to do with who you are. What I believe is that money will make a good person better and a bad person worse. And some people will sell their soul for evil. In fact, I've got a friend in Portland I'm trying to meet up with. I haven't seen him for years and years. Went to high school with him, and we've been chatting back and forth online. And he said something about some guy he used to hang out with. Uh, he found out that he was like one of the main guys in Antifa down in Portland. You all know what happened in Portland, right? When they wrecked the city. He was one of the main guys, and he flat out told him one day that he gets paid to do it. He gets paid to go out and destroy things and and be violent, which is insane. It's absolutely insane. And I've heard that from, media reports and a lot of people, but I've never heard it firsthand from somebody. It's always been secondhand. And I believed it. I expected that it was the truth, but now that I know, because like I say, a guy that I know that I've known for years confirmed it because the guy told him he gets paid. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And that's what he said. You sell your soul. That's money. Selling your soul for money, go out and being violent and doing things, whether you believe it or not, doing it just to get paid is insanity to me. But anyway, that's a little off topic. Um, well, it is, but it's not. It goes to your subconscious belief. What are your subconscious beliefs? What do you believe about money? What do you believe about yourself? And it's important to look in the mirror and ask those questions. And there's two different fears. I might be getting ahead of myself, but that wouldn't be a first time. Fear of failure is very common, right? It's one of those things that we all know, it's all there. But there's also one that a lot of people don't see. They either don't know or they don't understand, is fear of success. And I've experienced it because all of a sudden, your financial situation changes some, or it has the prospect of changing quickly. And all of a sudden it's like, well, what are people going to think of me? When they see things, your lifestyle changes a little bit or a lot, and you start to question if that's good or not. It's crazy. And if you haven't been there, then it's one of those things that once you experience it, then you understand. But um, And frankly, there's one of those things, and I think being aware of it, that's one of the reasons I bring it up, being aware that that is a thing, because a lot of people subconsciously will sabotage themselves because they get to that place, they don't think of it consciously. They don't go, okay, what happens now if I'm at this point? And if I get to this point, then my life radically changes. And you'll subconsciously put roadblocks in front of yourself so you don't get to that point. If you're not aware that that's what you're doing, then that becomes an issue, right? You've got to recognize that that is a legitimate fear. So many people are afraid of success. And that's why they never get there because, and the big part is that they don't see and they don't understand they're afraid of it. Because it doesn't really make a lot of intuitive sense. Like, why would you be afraid of success? Why would you would be happy, right? I mean, why is the Powerball $2 billion or whatever it was? That's not really success. That's just, you know, helicopter and cash in your bank account, right? But there's a reason people want money, but they don't they're afraid of what can do. And actually, that's a good example. The lottery is a good example of what happens to people that get money. They have too much money. It's winning the lottery, especially big giant jackpots like that, has ruined a lot of people's lives. I don't know where it came up, but recently saw an interview with this guy that he did. He won, I think he was the guy that won the first $1 billion jackpot. And he's constantly getting sued, or he was at least. Family members coming out of the woodwork, just people find out he's got all kinds of money. They're suing him for whatever reason. They come up with bogus reasons, and it's money can be a double-edged sword. It can be one of those, it's one of those things that can be really, really good, and it can also be really, really bad, depending on how you treat it, right? But it's important to get into those subconscious beliefs and what you believe and what you think, and recognize that you could be sabotaging yourself. I'll get into the second bullet point, the inner critic, which I mean, this all kind of ties together, obviously, right? You connect the dots and they're all there. The voices of um, doubt, fear, judgment lead to anxiety, action, inaction, which is, you know, there's the fear of if you do something, what could happen. Inaction is a decision, right? Um, but we're always talking to ourselves. We're always criticizing ourselves. Like I said, I am my own biggest critic, hands down. We give grace to other people all the time, but a lot of times we don't give ourselves grace. And that's an important thing to tamp down if you're in that place, because in trading, you're going to beat yourself to death if you allow yourself to. Because you're going to do something, and it's like, oh, that was stupid. What did I do that for? I mean, like my trade in Apple this morning. It's like, oh, okay. Right now, it's kicking my butt. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Right? What an idiot you are. Why'd you do that? Well, it looked like it was going to go down, and it's going up. Am I beating myself up over it? No. Am I cranky about it? A little bit. But I knew the risk. I knew how much risk I had going in, and I chose to take it. You know what? It's worth it. Because if it goes down, then I'm going to do well. If it goes up, I'll get hurt a little bit, but not bad. Not bad enough to make it not doable. But you will have ones. And another one, too. I got out of Dollar General yesterday. Got puts on it. And nope, you go down there. I closed out part of it. So I'm cranky, but I'm not, because right now it's getting hammered. It's down 5 points. And my puts would be up 20 or 30%. So am I beating myself up? A little bit. I mean, I fight it every single day. You're going to fight it every single day. It's one of those things that the self-talk's always going to be there. It's learning how to manage it that is what matters. And while I'm cranky about it, because I got out yesterday, I still did leave some there. I didn't get out of the whole position. I left it there just in case what happened today took place. And it is. So on one hand, I'm cranky. On the other hand, I'm like, okay. But then I'm also cranky because this morning I'm beating myself up a little bit because I looked at it, it started to tank, and I'm like, this thing's probably going to keep going. It doesn't look like it's going to slow down. And I had an opportunity to re-enter the trade, and I didn't take it. That was an hour ago when it was 3 points higher than it is now. And I'd be up 20 or 30, 40% more if I would have pulled the trigger on it. But here's the beauty. It doesn't matter because I had another quick day trade this morning that was an hour long. and it'll cover the cost of the Apple trade that I'm upside down with right now, which that may turn around and I might come out of it okay. We don't know. We'll see. Depends on where the market, where things close. But what you've got to do is balance out because you've got that negative self-talk to critic that's beating yourself up. But then you got to go to the next step, which is the inner coach, right? This is the positive self-talk where you're encouraging yourself, reason, self-compassion, giving yourself grace because you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have trades that go against you. And the trade on Apple wasn't a mistake. It just didn't work out. And there's the differentiator. You have to take and go, excuse me. Every time you have a trade that either goes in your favor or against you, either way, if you go back and reevaluate it, which I do on every single trade, whether it works out, pays off or not, is there something I could have done differently? Is there something I could have done better? The futures trade I did this morning, I could have waited for 10 minutes and I would have gotten a better fill. I would have gotten a better price. And I would have made 20 or 30% more than I did. But in the end, I still made a healthy profit for a day, 10%, I think it was, with very little risk. And so on one hand, I'm beating myself up. On the other hand, it's like, you know what? That's okay. You still did well. And do I wish I would have held off on the Apple? Yeah, but you know what? I didn't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows which way it's going next. So you have to take what you can see, make a decision, and then balance out what happens. I've got some trades. Overall today, I'm kicking butt, actually. I'm tearing it up. So, because I don't know if you see gold. Of course, there's another one where I'm cranky. It's a balancing act, right? Because I got out of my NEM calls. I closed them out completely about a week ago because I'm like, this thing looks like it's going to pull back or slow down at least for a little bit. So I'm going to take my profit because it was huge. Biggest trade I've had in at least 5 years, if not 10, percentage wise. And I was happy. It's like, you know what? If it pulls back, I don't want to give back a ton. I'm going to bank it here and then I can re-enter. I ended up re-entering a little bit. I was like, you know what? There's the odds of a pullback are higher than this thing rallying. So I'm going to nibble on it. So I just took I literally bought one contract to get back in. And I have other gold positions, other gold stocks, and I've got another position on another gold stock. So I'm like, I don't need to go super heavy on this one anyway. I'm just going to nibble on it. Well, it took off, and now it's up. I don't know, I'm up 20 or 30% on it. I'm like, I wish I should have bought more, right? The woulda, shoulda, coulda syndrome comes up. I should have done this. I should have done that. But it's always easy after things happen. In fact, I was just listening to the audiobook. I've got it in paperback too. Thinking Fast and Slow. It's an interesting book. I see your comments. I'm trying to finish my thought here. I'm not doing a very good job of finishing it, but it's an interesting book. It's where we have two systems, right? One system that is the subconscious, system one, that is intuitive and we just react based on our beliefs. And then system two, which is more analytical, more logical, and we take our time and make decisions. And it really is, you're living life with a combination of both. Some things in life you're like, well, do I want to do this? Am I going to buy this house? Am I going to buy this car? They're decisions that don't happen immediately. They're not subconscious, but you have subconscious decisions. If you stub your toe, there's probably, for at least some of us, going to be a word coming out of your mouth that we shouldn't say, but it happens, right? I mean, there's system one, which is a subconscious that reacts. System two is the more thoughtful one. And it was interesting where I was listening to it the other day, and he was talking about how they don't necessarily talk to each other. They do, but they don't. I mean, obviously on a subconscious level, it's there. But gosh, what was I just thinking of? Losing my train of thought here. Oh, we overestimate, or when we look back on things, it's easy to see. That's what I was just listening to yesterday. He was talking about how people were asked of what they expected out of a certain situation. And what do you think's going to happen? And so they gave their estimate. I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen. It was a binary choice, right? Either this or this. And then they went back to him after the time had passed where something was expected to happen. And they asked them how accurate they were, how good their prediction was of what was going to happen. And every single one of them overestimated how accurate they were, which is normal. It's what we do as humans, right? We think we're better than we are. 85% of people think they're good drivers. And when you take an objective test and actually measure people's driving skill, like 15 or 20% are actually good drivers based on the objective test of whether or not you're a good driver. But 80 or 85% of people believe that they're good drivers. So we overestimate how good we are and we underestimate our negatives. So again, getting back to this, we have the negative self-talk and we've got to counteract that with positive self-talk. You got to give yourself grace just like you do somebody else. And that's the question I've learned to ask myself is, okay, if this was somebody else I was talking to, what would I say to them? If this was a friend, fellow trader, what would be my advice? What would I, because I'm not going to go beat him up. Like, you're an idiot. Why would you do that trade? That was stupid. Are you a moron? I would never say that to somebody. I say it to myself all the time, though. So convert that negative self-talk, maybe not necessarily convert it, but combat it and counteract it with how you would talk to somebody else. What would you tell a different person if it wasn't you? If you were your own third party? So it really is about finding the balance because you're not going to stop the negative self-talk. In fact, that was the next thing. So let me catch up on these comments you guys have made. Oh, yeah, Brenda, that's unfortunately not true. Well, I'm not sure I'm catching on. They're paid to go to peaceful protests? No, these guys are literally paid to go destroy things and cause chaos. So I'm not sure if that's what you're saying or not, but I don't know if that's what you mean, but they're literally paid to go cause chaos, spray paint and do all this other stuff and destroy property. That's what they're paid for is to cause chaos. They're not paid to go peacefully protest. They wouldn't do that. Why would you go peacefully? Why would you get paid to go peacefully protest? People who want to peacefully protest are going to go do it without money. But people that are there to destroy, they're there to get paid to. So, oh wow, interesting. Yeah, Barry just said they had a conference in Maryland a couple of years ago, and um, they protested Saturday and Monday, but not on Sunday. And somebody asked them why. They said, "We don't work on Sundays." Work being the key word. If you're getting paid, why wouldn't you? Right? I mean, well, I mean, I wouldn't because I'm not evil. But and that goes back to the love of money. They love money so much they're willing to go wreck and destroy things and get paid for it. Even if whether they believe in the cause or not doesn't matter to them. So it's craziness to me. I don't comprehend it. I can't wrap my brain around it. I just don't. It doesn't make any logical sense at all to me. But then again, people are not logical most of the time. We're emotional beings. I mean, that's the way we are. And it kind of goes to what we're talking about here today. You've got to balance things out. I mean, it's not that I don't have evil thoughts. Things come into my brain sometime. There's some people in this world I'd like to hurt. But just because I think it doesn't mean I'm going to act on it. There's the emotional side of things, and there's the intellect that says, no, that's wrong. Emotionally, I want to do this, but intellectually, I can't because it's wrong. It's just not right. So, yeah. Yeah, pallets of bricks mysteriously show up. All the stuff they need is right there. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit lost when you say you're paid to go to peaceful protests in different cities to destroy or cause chaos. they sound like opposing comments. That's why I'm confused by what you were saying. But either way, I mean, all I know is that these thugs are paid to go there. So the question is, who's paying them? That's what I'm curious to know. It looks like we're finally going to get some people that are going to dig into that and figure out who's doing it. Yeah, exactly, Steve. They don't get paid double time on Sundays, so they don't work. Yeah, quote unquote peaceful, very. Blocking a bus so you can't go is not necessarily peaceful. I mean, I guess they're not causing if they're not causing violence, but or if they're not causing destruction, but um, oh, Brenda, I think I understand now. Well, yeah, those may be the words they say. I think that's what I think I'm starting to see is that yeah, they say they're going there to peacefully protest, but they're really not. They're they're not there. So words don't mean squat to me. It's all about action. What you do. I'm going to watch. What's the old saying? Watch what you do, not what I say. Watch what the person does, not what they say. Yeah, exactly. So words are worthless. It's just empty talk. Unfortunately, most politicians are like that. That's why I'm not a fan of most politicians because they say what they have to get their end result. It's sad but true. So, um, which you see the bullet point, the first one there, the negativity bias, which it's easy to demonstrate that's true because look at all the news. It's all negativity. Why? Because that's what gets people's attention. That's what gets clicks. And now you've got the internet and all that stuff out there, and that's the sad reality of all this, and all these Looney Tunes out making these evil comments, just demonstrating how evil they are. We've had several people in this state get fired, thankfully. Some guy up north just he resigned because I think if he didn't resign, he would have lost his pension most likely. He was a principal. Um, yeah, it's just crazy to me. I don't understand it, but it's part of it is that negativity gets attention. It just does. People pay attention to it more than positive stuff. Like you say, you watch the news. I stopped watching local news because it was all, used to years and years ago, 15, 20 years ago, used to, turn it on and watch it going to sleep. And it's all somebody got stabbed, somebody got shot. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to watch that right before I go to bed. I mean, not that I'm ignoring it, but at the same time, so yeah, it depends on what you mean by free speech, though. For speech, you can say whatever you want, but saying whatever you want does not necessarily come without consequences. So you're welcome to say anything you want, but if you say something stupid and the company that you work for is trying to protect their brand and you're out there making their brand look bad, they have every right in the world to fire you. So I don't know if that's what you were talking about or not, but yeah, I mean that's some people say, oh, well, it's free speech. Well, yeah, it is free speech. You have the right to say anything. The only speech that isn't free is if you're threatening somebody. You can't do that. That's not legal. But if you want to come out and say vile stuff and evil stuff, you're welcome to. But you'll suffer the consequences of it. So that's the reality of it. So yeah. Well, and that's why, the beauty is that, getting back to the topic of hand is balancing out the positive and the negative stuff. And part of the reason that we got the internet now, we've got alternative media, and that is now balancing out the mainstream media, which is actually dying because they're so terrible. And they've gone one direction and the alternative media has gone the other direction. And so, which is good because it balances things out then. And I try to watch as many things as I can. I watch some of the mainstream media and I go to alternative media and look for all that. So, especially when it comes to trading, I've got several guys on real estate on YouTube that I follow. They put out good data, they put out good information. Peter Schiff, should say, has a lot of good stuff on just the overall macro views, things that are going on behind the scenes, and he gives it real. Who's some of the other guys? There's the real estate guy. I can't remember what his name was. There's two or three in the real estate sector that I like watching just to get tabs on what's really going on. Yeah, I mean it's a good place to go. You've got to question why they're there. What's their motivation? Because they're all there not just necessarily for fun. They've all got something that they're either trying to sell. I mean, Peter Schiff has he pitches gold and silver. He talks about gold and how bullish it is, which is true. It's accurate. Uh, but he sells gold and silver. He's got an investment fund. So he's motivated. He's there because he's pushing his brand. But at the same time, he's giving good information. So they can do both. There's the both and there's the either or people. There's either or people that think it's either this or that. You're either there to make money or you're there to provide information. But why can't you both be there to provide good information and also be there to promote your brand? It's a both and thing. And I think Schiff is balanced like that. That's one reason I like him. So there's other guy, this other real estate guy. He's got a training course he sells to real estate agents or anybody that wants to learn about buying and selling real estate. So he's talking about that quite often. He's selling his own product, but he gives good information. So he's both and. But a lot of it's negative. You look at the clickbait, you look on YouTube, there's all these things are like, oh, this thing blows up, and they show the worst possible thing, and because it gets you to click on it, right? But no, the second bullet point is important too, how negative self-talk can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you convince yourself that you're never going to make it, I'm going to fail, I'm not going to make it in this trading, because it's you can have wild swings. You'll have these, you'll kick butt for a long time and you'll make a ton of money, and then you give it all back. And it can be, depending on how you're trading, you get these wild swings. So you've got to be aware of that and recognize that that could happen. And if you're doing that, if you have those wild swings and you don't like it, then figure out a way to make it not so wild. The key to the long-term success in trading is being consistent. It's not hitting 3 home runs in a row and then going out striking out the next 10 at-bats. It's about a single, a walk, strikeout, home run, double, single, 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 strikeout, double, single. It's about consistency. And that's what we need to get to with regard to trading. And the biggest hurdle is our mindset. The biggest hurdle is the challenge that we have of keeping this straight. Cognitive distortions. That's a overgeneralization, catastrophizing, black and white thinking. Well, black and white thinking is either or, right? Either this or that. And a lot of people, tons of people think like that. Well, if you're rich, then either you're rich and I'm poor, or I'm rich and you're poor. Why can't you both be rich, and why can't you one person both be rich and the other person be poor? And what difference does it make? It's a choice. So it's a both and mindset. Catch the critic in the act. That is the key. Is self-reflection, if you will. I used to say years ago, I work to walk inside of a mirror, which sounds cheesy, but in other words, I'm constantly reflecting on myself and what I'm doing. I mean, right now I'm watching myself like, am I talking too fast? Because some of you know, I talk way too fast a lot of times. And doing this, especially if I get into, if it's something that I'm passionate about, I start to talk really fast about it because my mouth is trying to keep up with my brain. And if I don't focus on making sure that I'm either talking slow or making sure that I enunciate, which if I force myself to enunciate, then it forces me to slow down and not talk so fast. So it's a matter of constantly self-reflecting. And same thing when you're trading is, what are you doing good and what can you do better? That's a question we used to always ask is what did we do good? And a lot of these, years ago, I used to do a lot of sales. And it's like, what did we do good today? And what can we do better tomorrow? What can we improve upon? And that's a good way to stay away from, not necessarily stay away from the negative self-talk, but tamp it down. What can we improve upon? Did I make a mistake? Did I do something? And when it comes to trading, did I make a mistake? Okay, maybe you did. That's always the question I have when I look at a trade. Go, okay, did I make a mistake on Apple today? No. Is it going against me and costing me some money? Yeah. Is that irritating? Yeah. But did I screw up? No. I just made a choice. Here's the risk. Here's the reward. Am I willing to take that risk for the potential to get to that reward? Yes, I am. Am I going to be upset if I end up losing? Yes, a little bit. But is it the end of the world? No, because I managed my risk effectively. Because I'm not that concerned about giving that much money to the market. If I give that much money to the market, I'm okay with that because I've made it up in other places. Not that I want to lose, but at the same time, I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with it. And I don't make too many mistakes anymore. And that's really, that I think is one of the, what should be one of the goals in trading is to get to a point where you don't make the mistakes. But the question becomes again, you have to constantly ask yourself when you have a trade, especially when it goes against you, did I make a mistake here? Did I do something I shouldn't have done? Did I allow my emotions to win? Did I get in out of fear? Did I get out of fear? Did I not get back in out of fear? I mean, Dollar General is one that I could easily point to and say, well, I shouldn't have gotten out yesterday. Or did I? Because the reality is it's a flip of a coin. It could have just as easily rallied today 5 or 6 points, and I'd be losing money on what position is still there. In that case, I'd still be cranky. See, this is the crazy part. This is that dichotomy we deal with every day. Is that if it was going up today, if it was up 5 points instead of down 5 points, I'd be cranky because I'd be losing on that other part of the position. But I'd also be happy that I got out of part of the position because I didn't lose as much as I would have. But instead, since it's down almost 5 points, now I'm cranky that I got out of the position yesterday because I'd be making even more today. Actually, I'd be up, yeah, I'd be 25, 30% higher than where I am right now. But at the same time, it's like, okay, was that a mistake to get out? No, it wasn't. And the beauty is that I didn't get out of the whole thing. I do have one that I cleared out the entire thing and then it went the way I wanted it to, and I would have made a small profit. I took a small loss. It was like $100. So it was, in the big scheme of things, it was almost nothing. But I was like, this thing's starting to move against me. I'm just going to get out. And so I took it out. And of course, it turned around almost immediately. And I'm like, was that a mistake? Yes and no. At the time, in the moment that I made the decision, it's like, this thing is going against me. I don't want to take a huge hit on it. So I'll just take a little tiny one. And if it gives me an opportunity to get back in, okay, then I'll get back in. But then it ran so fast back the other direction that I expected it to go. I didn't have another opportunity to get back in. So I missed out on a little bit of profit on it. But that's right, Steve. They're watching us. They're hacking your machine and Steve got in. Nail it. I have that happen all the time. But you know what's crazy though, too? And this is the thing, and I probably should have put that in here, but you got to be cautious with your memories too. Because I had one, it was either yesterday or the day before. Then it ran up. I had a stop on it, a hard stop, which was just on part of the position because I was up. I was already profitable. And so, but I'm going to put a stop on part of it. I think it was a quarter of it or something like that um, at this level. And if it stops me out, it'll be a little tiny loss, but not that big of a deal. It literally missed it by a penny. I saw the intraday high was on the thing, and it was I can't remember what the first number was. It was 0.43, and the stop was at 0.44. So if it would have went up one more penny, it would have triggered my stop and taken me out. It ended up doing it later in the day, but it did from there. It fell for about 2 or 3 hours, and I actually was like, "Wow, am I really going to be caught by that? Miss it by a penny?" Which happens. I mean, I've had that happen in my futures trading quite a few times. Either get in by a tick and then it turns and goes against you, or don't get stopped out by a tick and then it turns and goes in your favor and you make a nice profit. So that's the crazy thing. It's you just never know what's going to happen. Hence the reason that we have to manage risk well. And I use scaling. Scaling and risk reward are the two biggest tools that I think will help you keep your mindset straight. When you can look at something and be comfortable with the risk you're taking, say, okay, I'm willing to take this risk to get at this amount of potential profit. And if you're good with it, then it's okay. I'm willing to risk that. Then there's no reason to fear anything. I'm willing to give the market $1,000 to find out if I can make four. All right. If you give the market $1,000, all right. Didn't work out this time, but you know what happens? If the next time it does, guess what? You got $4,000. You're still up three. You don't need too many of those $4,000 trades to make up for the $3,000 or the $1,000 losses, right? You could do, practical exercise there. Number two, a thought log. I've never done this, but um, you guys might get a cat fight. Um, yeah, I've never done that. It's an interesting thought, but if you find yourself in that negative spiral, and I've got a pretty good balance on the negative and positive, so I don't, it's not something that I may have done something like that years ago, but um, yeah, if you need to do it, it's a good idea. The big thing is to recognize the patterns or the triggers your inner critic, is to see it clearly, recognize it, catch it, and correct it, right? Part of the reason, I mean, you see the word patterns there. Obviously, I'm the patterns guy. Um, that is one of the things that on the charts we see the patterns, and those patterns come from the underlying psychological, emotional state of the market, if you will, the traders that are trading a particular stock. So the patterns that we see in the charts are the same patterns that we have internally, mentally, and emotionally. Hence the reason I love both of them. I mean, they're connected basically. It's one and the same. So yeah, and here's I think something that is good for everybody is to learn to differentiate. I think that's part of the problem with our a lot of social, cultural, societal issues we have is that um, people don't seem to understand how to separate out fact from opinion anymore. Some people, I should say, not everybody, obviously, because there's objective truth and then there is subjective opinions. And unfortunately, the water gets muddied very easily because a lot of people like to believe that their opinion is fact. This is just the way it is. Mm, no, that's a subjective opinion. That's not a fact. I mean, one plus one is two. That's an objective fact. I like the sun. That's a subjective opinion. I do like the sun as long as it doesn't get too hot. All right. Anything in the 90s? Now, we've had a very mild summer out here. I think we had 3 days in the 90s and we didn't have a single day in triple digits, I don't think. I think we only had 3, maybe 4 days that got up to the low 90s, and everything else has been 70s and 80s, which for me is perfect. I don't like it super hot. So yeah, it was a real mild summer. Very little rain too. I mean, almost I think we've had 2 or 3 days of just a tiny bit of rain and then nothing. Usually we'll get, a few days of, hardcore rain and then it goes back to being nice. So it's been interesting, but I like this idea though, treating it like a lawyer and cross-examining a witness. So if you have negative thoughts, bring in another one. Again, that's kind of like going back to the, if it was somebody different, if it was your friend, what would you tell them? What would you say to them if it was your friend or your family member instead of you? It's easy to beat ourselves up, but you gotta flip that coin over. There's two sides to every coin, right? You got the negative self-talk, but there's something positive on the other side of it. Even if you lose money, you made a mistake. Guess what? There's a learning opportunity. Okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, don't do that again. Log that away. Okay, I did this and this and this, and I shouldn't have. I was impatient. I shouldn't have been impatient. That's probably my number one problem is being impatient. Not waiting and letting things develop as much as I jump the gun. It's like, okay, this thing's gonna move. And then I don't. And sometimes it's me being impatient. Sometimes it just is the way it is. Sometimes it's like, okay, that was not a bad decision to get in there. Maybe I should have waited for one more cycle because I mostly play breakouts, right? I'm looking for a pattern. I'm looking for something that, okay, we got a double bottom. It's up approaching the midpoint. If it breaks north of the midpoint, it's probably going to take off. And sometimes it takes off and it's a false breakout, and sometimes it doesn't. That's the tricky part, right? Because you don't know if the original first breakout is gonna take off and just run, because sometimes it does that. Other times it breaks out and then it pulls back, does a roll reversal. That's the more conservative spot if you wait for that. But sometimes it doesn't happen. Hence the reason I scale like I do. So I'll get a little bit on the initial breakout because it's not uncommon for it to either pull back or be a false breakout. So I'll add just a little bit of a position on the initial breakout just in case it takes off and runs. Just like NEM, right? I got out of all my positions, which I'm a little cranky about because, who doesn't want 1,400% versus 1,100% rate of return? That's way better. But 1,100 was okay, or 1,150, whatever it was. I was content with it. But you always want more, right? But because I was believing the odds that this thing's going to pull back more, the odds are higher it's going to have a pullback or at least go sideways for a bit before it takes off again. I only put a little tiny bit in there because I just didn't expect it to run 320 like it is right now. It's like, but it is what it is. The nice part is, so even though I'm cranky that I am not in there with my previous position, I'm in there. It's not as big as I want. So I'm cranky. I wish I would, I wish I had 10 times the size of position I do because I'd be really killing it. But at the same time, I'm glad I'm there. At least I'm making something. At least I didn't miss all of it. Any of the questions asked. Is my thought 100% true? Is what I'm thinking and believing about whatever it is that's inside your head, is that accurate or not? If it's not, what's the realistic way to say it? What is reality? And again, sometimes if it's a subjective opinion, then there isn't necessarily a right or wrong. And most of what we do, especially in trading, is subjective opinions. It's not right or wrong. It's risk or reward. Ooh, that's a good headline. It's not right or wrong. It's about risk reward. Just came out. Getting back to that, and what would you say to a friend? What would you say if it was not you? Because we're most critical of ourselves over somebody else. Again, we give grace to other people, but we don't give ourselves grace. And especially in the arena of trading. I mean, really, realistically, everywhere in life you need to. But it's easy, very, very easy in this arena to be super negative and beat ourselves up. When in reality, you shouldn't, because like I've said a million times, nobody has a crystal ball. And there's no way to know. That's one thing I started to train myself to ask is, could I have known? Okay, I got into a trade, Apple. Got into a trade this morning on Apple. Could I have known that Apple was going to do what it's doing right now and take off to the upside in a big way? No, I couldn't have. I mean, I could speculate, obviously. Could I have looked at it and said, oh, they put out a new product? So, which they are. That's part of the reason they gapped up this morning is they just launched and what is the iPhone 17 or whatever. Which apparently it sounds like from the news that I've been hearing, there was, Tim Cook was interviewed and he's like, yeah, we're getting great reception from India and China and people are lined up to buy the new phone. So I think that's why they're continuing to rally. But it looked like this morning they were going to sell off and fill the gap. And had they done that, I would have had a profit. Right now, I'm getting hammered. Was it the 18? I can't keep up. I'm not an iPhone guy anyway. So my dad's got one. And this last weekend, it was just like, and he doesn't know how to use it that well. I mean, he's 82. So, and he never wanted one. But my mom finally got rid of his flip phone. Said, you get one of these. You need a new phone anyway, so we're just going to get one of these. So she got him an iPhone, and she's got one, and she's good with it, but he's always getting frustrated, which is understandable. I was too. I don't want this stupid Facebook. Get rid of my Facebook. I'm getting these ads for these shoes. Every day it gives me a notification saying that I'm getting some kind of ad trying to sell me these dang shoes. And I'm like, right? And I found out it's Marketplace. Well, it was some Marketplace app, which I don't think is Facebook. Same name, but yeah, so I finally figured that out and then deleted it. So that wasn't there. And then I discovered that because he doesn't have the Facebook app anywhere on his phone. I'm like, what's going on? You keep saying you have Facebook, and he has these Facebook. And then I finally realized it was the browser. His browser was set to go to Facebook. So he'd open the browser to go do a search, and it was Facebook. And I think my mom's set up an account, or maybe my brother-in-law did. He was selling his truck 2 or 3 years ago. And so he got an account set up somehow. I think it was for that, to put his truck on Marketplace. And so yeah, now he's getting these things, and he's getting frustrated. And I finally figured that out. That's what it was. It was a browser, but it was all set to notifications, and it was frustrating because I had to go through this browser-based Facebook and all the notifications that are in there, which there's like 30 of them. There's probably 15 or so different categories. You got to go turn every one of them off. It's like, give me one button that says shut everything off. Don't make me spend 15 minutes, which is what I had to do. That's what I said, Brenda. He doesn't have the app on there. It wasn't the app. It was in the browser. You can log in to Facebook through a browser on your phone without the app. I know that's why I was frustrated. I'm like, you don't have Facebook. I'm looking all over his phone, like, where's all the apps? And then he's got a hidden section of apps, and I couldn't get in there because he has the face thing on there. And I was getting frustrated myself because I'm like, this is irritating. There is no Facebook here. That's when it dawned on me. He's in the browser thing, and these notifications come up, and he clicks on the notification, and it logs him in through the browser. So we got it solved. Should be good. I'm gonna have to go down there sometime in the next few months. He's like, I need to sell this stuff because he's at that age where he's like, he's getting rid of his things. He's got a tractor and a backhoe and tons of woodworking equipment. And he's like, I need to start selling this. I can't really use it anymore. So, which goes to this. I was thinking about that earlier today because he was up. My mom's in Europe with her girlfriends, and she's not back for another week, I think. She's there for almost 3 weeks. So he was bored. That's why he came up last weekend. He calls me. He's like, I'm coming up. Get my room ready. I was like, all right. So we had some fun. Um, but he was like, yeah, your mom just doesn't want to. He said, yeah, we went and looked at this retirement home, whatever they call them now. I don't know what the PC term. We used to call them old people homes. I still call them old people homes because I'm not into the whole PC thing. Because that's what they are, right? And he says that's what they are too. We're both realistic. And he's like, your mom didn't want to go look at it. And like, why not? They're just doing a tour, right? They're looking at, they have, studios, one bedrooms, two bedroom apartments. It's built out over on the river there. And, they live in a small town in Southern Oregon. And he goes, let's just go look at it and see. See if it's somewhere that, we get to a place because, yeah, assisted living. Okay. um, except I don't even think this is technically even assisted. It's just a yeah, don't get me started on the 55 plus thing or 50 plus thing. My neighbor's a real estate agent. She just listed a house recently for one of her clients that it's a 55 plus community. And she was trying to run a Facebook ad. And because she put 55 plus community in there, they flagged it and said you're age discrimination. It's like, are these 20 something year old programming? Are they that dumb? They don't understand that there's communities that you have to be a certain age to live in. It's not age discrimination. That's what it is. Anyway, so yeah, my dad was just telling me how my mom doesn't want to accept the reality. He goes, I'm 82. He goes, I can tell the last year, just physically, I can't do what I used to. He goes, your mom can't even take the laundry thing upstairs, right? They have a house that was built in the early 80s. Laundry's downstairs and their room's upstairs. So she's been she last 2 or 3 years, he carries it up the stairs for her. And he goes, just in the last 6 months or so, I have to stop halfway up the stairs and set it down because I'm losing a lot of my strength. Because your mom doesn't want to accept the reality that we're getting old. Even walking up the stairs is difficult now. So he's accepted the reality of where they're at in life, and she doesn't want to. So, which, I mean, I get, nobody wants to realize that, it's Grim Reaper's coming. It's not that far away, and you're physically slowing down, and, your body just can't do what it used to do. So, but it's just, I thought it was interesting, the difference in how they think. And my dad's like, I'm realistic. And your mom's just not. She wants to live in this. And I'm like, she is. She just doesn't want to talk about it or admit it. So that's funny, Steve. When I get to that point, I'm just gonna drive into the mountains and disappear. Don't do that. I'm sure your loved ones would probably not be happy about that. So, but here's just some core actions. Constantly replace the negative thoughts with more balanced, constructive. In other words, balance it out. Like I said, there's two sides to every coin. I did that years and years ago. I can't remember what book I read, but it was I can't remember. They threw an exercise out there and something like, put 10 coins in your left pocket. I make the goal for the day to every time you have a negative thought, to take it and turn it into a positive thought. And every time you do that, take a coin out and put it in the other pocket. The goal is to get them from one side to the other. It sounded kind of cheesy, but I did it. It was like, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it did. I mean, it works. If you find something like that works for you, if you are caught in that negative cycle, then find something that allows you to rewrite that script and recognize and the reality of the negativity is there. Maybe you made a mistake, maybe you did something stupid, whatever. That's okay. accept it and balance it out and give yourself some grace and move on. I mean, that's all you can do. It's okay. I made a mistake. I learned from it. We all make mistakes. I made one once. Um, and then move forward and go and try not to make that mistake again. Right. There's some examples too. Can't do it's too hard. Um, it is. And trading is, I've said this for years, it is one of the most difficult things that you will attempt to do, in my opinion, mainly because of the mental side of it, because of the negativity that the criticism that we give to ourselves. That is the hurdle that you have to overcome. You have to get the mentality, the mental side, the emotional side of trading down. I don't care how good you get it. I used to think if I get really good at reading charts, I'm going to make a fortune. And then guess what? I got really good at reading charts. You know what happened? Nothing changed. Where things changed and shifted for me is when I started to work on the mentality side, the emotional side of balancing out the negativity, not beating myself up, implementing tools like risk reward and scaling, and balancing out the mentality. And that was part of yesterday. I got out of a couple positions. The one I only took about half the position out, mainly because, okay, if I'm wrong and it does turn back around and starts moving in my favor, I don't want to give away the whole trade. I'm willing to take a little bit more risk to find out if it moves back in my favor. And in this case, it did. In fact, I've got another one I did the same thing with. I took half of it out and I just reloaded it because it set up again this morning. I'm like, okay, that thing looks like it's getting weak again. I think it's probably going to roll over from here. So I added the position back in. So now I'm back in that position. And actually, I've got a little bit better price than I originally had. So the last one there was one that I made a mistake. I'm such an idiot. No, I made a mistake. It's an opportunity to learn. It's something I can use to propel myself forward and continue to improve my skill. Because this is not an overnight thing, obviously. You're not just going to magically have your mindset shifted and be like, whoo. Quick recap since we only have a couple of minutes left. Um, I think the first one there, I think is good. Your inner dialogue is a skill you can develop. It's not a fixed trait. You're not stuck where you're at. You can correct it. It's always going to be there. It's not a matter of making it disappear. That's one reason I can't stand when I hear people say, learn to trade without emotion. It drives me nuts. That's like saying, live without emotion. Don't ever get angry. Don't ever get sad. Don't ever be happy. Don't ever feel anything. I mean, that's how ludicrous it is to say that. There is no such thing. You can't live without emotion. We have emotions for a reason. They're God-given. They're there for a purpose. The question is, can you take them and redirect them when they're not being used for the purpose that they were designed for? Can you redirect them and get them back into their purpose? Fear is there for a reason, to keep us safe, right? Protect us, keep us away from danger. That was its purpose. But unfortunately, people have been taught and led down a path that fear keeps them away from opportunity because they're afraid of the risk. If you have to take a risk, well, you might lose. It might go bad. And we get in that negative talk. It's like, okay, but what if it doesn't? Again, flip that coin over. Well, you might lose money. Okay, well, what's on the other side of the coin? The other side of the coin says I might make money too. The question then becomes, okay, how much risk are you willing to take on this side of the coin to get to the other side of what's on the coin? Number two, question the validity of the negative narrative. I think that's one thing too that we've gotten away from as a culture or society is questioning things. Maybe not. I mean, I know some of us haven't, but a lot of people, especially now with technology, that's one thing I've seen too recently is the creativity is going away because we don't have to be creative. Somebody else is creative and it just drops it on our phone. We don't have to have that creative mindset. Kids don't go out and play. When I was a kid, we went out. I mean, I grew up on 8 acres. We went out and played. We had one TV station. We had CBS. If you got the rabbit ears just right in the other team, you could get ABC. It was a little bit fuzzy, but you could watch a show on it. So we had to be creative. We go on a trip, 1984, we took a 6 week trip. We drove 12,000 miles in 6 weeks. We went from Southern Oregon over to Minnesota, and then over up into Maine, and down to Florida, and then zigzag back up through the States because we started running out of time. We didn't have a phone to sit there and watch movies on. We didn't have movies inside the car. You had to sit and stare out the window. So your mind would get lost in thought. We had the little road games, right? You'll close the things, you play bingo, road bingo, or whatever it was called. Or you had to have, you played some game with road signs. You had to be creative. Nowadays, kids don't have to be. Somebody else is creative and it's right there for them. So we're kind of losing that. And the fact that we've got information, well, a lot of people like to just believe whatever they hear and they don't question it. Because this doesn't make sense. Does it? Is it? What about this? What about that? Um, so just question everything. There's nothing wrong with questioning it and look, okay, there's two sides to every coin. Is this true or is something else true? And then change it. Actively reframe your thoughts. And about more supportive, but balance it out. Balance it out. Take, whatever you need to take away from anything I've said, take a coin. That's one thing that in my mind, I just use, I don't physically use one, but I always think there's two sides to every coin. What's on the other side of it? Because a lot of people are, shallow and short-sighted. They're intellectually lazy. They don't have curiosity. They're not intellectually curious. They don't go, what about this? What about that? They see what's on one side of the coin and they go, oh, okay. And they just leave it at that. They don't bother to flip it over, look at the other side. They don't ask what's on the other side of the coin. They're not curious. They just want to take at face value whatever they see on the surface and go, oh, well, that must be the truth. I think the last one I like is the 3 C's: catch it, challenge it, change it. If you don't catch your subconscious thoughts, if you don't recognize them, then you can't get to step number 2, which is to challenge it. Okay, I just had this thought because that just recently happened to me. Like, okay, I never really felt the fear of success, and then all of a sudden it was like, I'm at a place now where it's like, okay, if this keeps going, it's like, and all of a sudden I'm like, crap. It was weird. It was really, really weird. I never experienced it like that. So I've heard it talked about, and I know it's a reality, but I never truly experienced it myself. Then I was like, whoa, okay, now I know what they're talking about, and I recognize that it's real, and it's real for me too. But once you catch it, then you challenge it, and if you don't like it, then you change it. Easier said than done, right? Quick, some things. Stay aware. Going back to that same thing I just said, stay aware of your biases and self-talk. Constantly pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. These are just some things that I've used. Utilize risk reward. It should always be a question of, am I willing to take this risk? Am I comfortable with the risk that I'm taking in this trade? And if you're not, then change it, adjust it. If you're going to do 10 contracts and it's going to cost me $3,000 if I get stopped out, I don't want to give the market 3,000. Well, how much are you willing to give the market? 1,500. Okay, then cut your position in half. If the setup is there, the trade still looks good, but the amount you're risking is too much, then change the amount you're risking. Adjust it. Which goes to the position sizing, right? Make sure you position size. For me, I've learned to focus on the risk side of the trade. I don't care as much about the upside. 95% of my focus is on how much am I risking? And am I comfortable with that? The upside will take care of itself if it happens. But I'm okay giving the market this amount of money to find out if I could possibly get that. Scaling in and out is crazy good. Which, like I said, I did that yesterday. I got out of half of 2 positions because they were going, one hit the stop, and I'm like, it's just barely above the stop. I'm like, I'm still bearish on this thing. So I don't want to X the whole thing, but I don't want to have all that risk on the table in case it continues to run tomorrow. So I do that quite often. And that's one thing, especially if you don't like stopping out of trades, then consider doing something like that. Maybe put a little bit tighter stop on part of it and then a looser stop on the other half. So if your stop's at, say, 21 and you're getting in at 20, or let's do the opposite. Most of you are probably bullish thing. I'm a bear. Call me a perma bear if you want. Um, so if you get in, say at 20, and your stop's at 19, maybe you put one stop at say 1950, or one stop at 1950 and the other one at 1850. Then your average stop is at 19. So that way, because you've probably all done that where you put a stop too tight and you're like, and you get stopped out, and then it's like, and then it turns around and goes your favor. Well, maybe adjust it that way. Okay, I'm going to put one super tight, and if it stops me out, I'll take less of a loss there, but then I give a looser one so that I give it that wiggle room. And what you'll find out, and I've had this happen a lot with day trades and futures. I have that. I'll have a tight stop on part of the position and a loose stop on the other half. It just happened the other day, and I'm cranky because I got out too early. But because I tightened up the stop manually, and if I would have just left it alone where it was originally at, I would have ended up break even because stocks bounce a lot in this range. So that's a strategy I've learned to use where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go tight on some and then loose on another, so that if my timing's off by a little bit, sure, I'm gonna take a loss on this one, but then the rest of it, if it does come back, then I have an opportunity to make back that amount, or at least make back some of it and mitigate the loss to a degree. I've had them where they took off and went, and I ended up huge, up bigger than I expected to originally. You just don't know what's going to happen. So just a thought, something to think about. Consistency. That's the key to trading. If you want to succeed long-term in the market, focus on consistency. That is the goal. That's the ultimate goal, to where you're trading in a calm, cool, collected state consistently all day, every day. You're just like, okay, you're just doing your thing. When you watch a baseball game, the batter goes out, he's on deck. The other guy flies out, strikes out, whatever. Just walks up to the plate and does his thing. He's not freaking out. He's not nervous. I mean, it might be a little bit of nerves, but once they get to that level, they've done it so many times, it's just second nature. And that is where I'm assuming you probably all want to get. And it's nice being in that place. I finally figured out probably 5 or 6 years ago that was the ultimate goal. The goal is not a number to get to. The goal is to get to a place where you trade calm, cool, and collected. The numbers will follow if you get to that place. And get to that place where you're calm, cool, and collected, and then your trades you'll trade consistently, you'll trade better, you'll make better decisions, and then you'll be more consistent. So, all right. Any real quick questions? Thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. Thanks, Brenda. A little over. I don't think there's anything else on here. Nope. Oh, there's Q&A. We don't really have time for Q&A, but next time. So if you have one, drop it in quick. Should have asked it by now, but I would imagine you would have. So, all righty. Well, thanks for hanging out and having some fun. And we will see you probably in a couple weeks, because I'm leaving next Tuesday for a week. So